What is up, guys? Vincent here, and today I wanted to talk about research as an undergrad because I've got a lot of questions from people, and I think it is something that is very important and worth discussing, especially if you have this question on your mind of, as an undergrad, should I be doing research, and is it worth your time? Is it worth maybe taking a hit on a midterm or a final and getting a lower GPA to have some extra research on your resume? And that's what I'll be talking about in this video. So the very first thing to address whether or not you want to do research, my opinion is that in almost every case, it is worth your time to do research, to get any experience you can in a lab, to get any experience you possibly can working with other people, working with postdocs and PIs is fantastic to have on a resume. Even if you're not applying to grad school, if you're just going to be applying to jobs afterwards, having anything to talk about on your resume where you can list how much experience you have collaborating on a team, working to solve technical problems, doing research, following up on literature, staying on top of things, managing your time, and studying for midterms on top of all this stuff, it really, in my opinion, makes you look like a very well-rounded candidate if you're applying for a position, even if it's not graduate school. And in my case, my research that I was doing, I really wasn't planning on going to grad school, and I haven't. But I just kind of joined a lab and I started getting a lot of exposure to MATLAB and designing hardware and software. And we were working in NMR. And doing hardware and software was kind of like the last thing I expected to be doing, working in an NMR lab. But it was a very good experience for me because a lot of my jobs immediately after I graduated college involved a lot of hardware and software. So um, even though my lab wasn't explicitly meant for hardware and software research, I still got a lot of valuable experience designing and developing these kinds of systems. And I was able to talk about it during interviews, which really helped me out. So it wasn't even a grad school interview, it was just a job interview. And it was really cool that I had that experience to talk about with my employers because, um, in my opinion, especially as an undergrad, you're not going to really have that much experience to talk about in terms of jobs. All you're going to really have is a degree saying, I got a bachelor's degree, which all of my colleagues have. But what employers really want to see you do is start setting yourself apart and hit home why they should take you instead of the other 10 guys that they have applying for the same role. So having that experience to talk about in those research labs and making sure that you are productive during your time in these labs is very useful. You also get nice references from postdocs or PIs if you are a good researcher. So this is something that I want to beat into people and myself when I was undergrad, is you really get out of research what you put in. If you are someone who just joins a lab, even though you're in UC Berkeley or whatever university you're in, and you don't do anything, first of all, your references aren't going to be good. I would feel really bad if I was talking about things I didn't do in an interview, and you really don't. It's really an opportunity for you to just develop your skills and to find areas that you're interested in. You might think that you love art history, so you join an art history lab, and maybe it ends up being the best thing that you've ever done. And just being able to talk about it in person in an interview really adds another dimension to your application and your character that you're presenting to people during your sales pitch and those job interviews. So this is very important stuff to do. So can't emphasize enough. I will almost argue it doesn't even matter where you do your research. Just get some research on paper. Whether or not you're doing grad school, if you're doing grad school, absolutely 100% yes, doing more research is even more relevant because in grad school you're going to be expected to know how to read literature, how to think critically and design your own experiments, how to collaborate with postdocs and PIs and undergrads, and how do you really begin to keep up to date with the current state of a particular field. So like in my case, in the NMR lab, we had journal clubs and I didn't really go to them, which is bad. But we had journal clubs, and if you were really passionate about this stuff and you really wanted to keep up with what people were doing, this was your chance to kind of go to them and keep up with the work. I was more fascinated with the hardware and the software stuff, but yeah. So, and my jobs after college aligned with that. But my point is, joining these labs is fantastic for your resume, for who you are as a person. And another huge selling point behind why you should do research as an undergrad is that you will meet tons of really cool people who are very likely going through the same challenges and struggles that you have. And it will really help you find people you can count on, because you're going to be with these people in your research labs day in and day out, studying probably for the same midterms and finals and doing the same projects. And so you make good friends this way. If you're a nerd like me or a dork, this is where you meet the same people who are very passionate about, chemical engineering or whatever field you're in. And it's very well worth your time. It is competitive, especially when I was at UC Berkeley. Just joining these labs, you were brought into rooms where you were sitting next to four other people who all wanted that same position, and you had to say why you think you could do it better than the other guys. Hopefully, it's not as competitive wherever you guys are, but it depends on the lab. It depends on who you are. You really do have to want to do research, and I really hope I can convey to you why research is something that you would want to do. In my opinion, it makes being an undergrad a lot more valuable in your career, in your professional career, and also your personal life. You'll meet really cool people, and if you get super into these labs, you'll probably go out for beers together or whatever. So it's fantastic stuff. So yeah, my take on this is any research is good research, whether or not you're doing grad school, and just do your best. Join labs. Don't be afraid to sign up for other labs if maybe the lab you're in doesn't click. This should be fun. This should be an opportunity for you to grow and learn more about a field that you might care a lot about. And it's kind of like with life and like with being an undergrad, you really, in my opinion, don't know what you want until you're actually doing it. And until you've tried other things, you find what you're passionate about, what you actually enjoy doing, and what you're really good at. And when all those three things come together, that's how you know what your career is. And so I hope I'm not beating around the bush too much. But yeah, I just hope this adds some insights on what my perspective is, and I hope it helps you. Feel free to ask me any questions about doing research as an undergrad, as I think this is definitely worth your time and attention considering. So thank you.